All right. So up until now, you guys have been working with a digital art program called Pixlr. But today, I want to show you a different program called Vectr. Now, Pixlr is a raster program and Vectr is a vector program. So Pixlr is a digital art program and you can like paint and draw and stuff with it. But it's actually for work using photos. I mean, it's mostly a photo editor. That's why you can stock search and upload photos. And a vector program is just a little bit different. So how is it different? Well, first, let's take a look at this photo, all right? And if I were to zoom in and keep zooming in, keep zooming in, keep zooming in. So you notice here, there's these little kind of squares, right? So that's what pictures are made up of, these little squares. They're called pixels. The more pixels you have, uh, the more detailed a picture will be, right? If you zoomed in really more, you'll see it's not detailed once you zoom in really closely. But it also takes up a lot of memory. That's why if you have, Ultra HD photos, it'll take up a lot of memory on your Chromebook. And when you're using Pixlr, it will lag quite a bit, especially for your Chromebook. So a vector program is a bit different in that it doesn't use the same type of system. It doesn't use pixels, these little squares. It uses something called paths. All right, so first what I want you to do is open up a new tab and search for vector. Just vector, not changing shapes. Okay. So Vectr is another free online program, and you can go ahead and use it online. Now, for me, I already logged in, so you guys, you can make your own account as well using your Gmail address. That's fine, and I think that it should work. It should be okay. All right, but let me know if it doesn't. Now, as we did in Pixlr, you can also use shapes, and that's what the main thing for using vector artwork is using shapes, right? Just like Pixlr, I can take that and I can, there we go. I can make an ellipse, a circle. I can make a rectangle. I can make a rounded rectangle. And so if you notice, these shapes are pretty much similar to what we did in Pixlr, right? And there are more shapes. There's a lot more shapes that we can use here. Some icons, something like this, lightning and stuff. But that's not what I want you guys to do today. I mean, you can fool around with the shapes, and we'll talk a little bit more about shapes again. But what I want you to do today is to become familiar with the pen tool. Now, this pen tool is different. Okay, it's not the same as the pen tool in Pixlr. Okay, the pen tool in Pixlr, it kind of acts like the pencil tool here, where you kind of like freehand draw. Like there's brushes and stuff like that. But there's no brushes here. Okay. Now, this pen tool is very much similar to any other type of vector program like Adobe Illustrator or Graphic. All these vector programs use this same system for the pen tool. And in order for you guys to become well-rounded digital artists, it's important to know how to draw with the pen tool. So what do we do? Well, basically you click, 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 and then on the last point, you click again to make a shape. Hey, that doesn't sound so difficult, right? You can adjust that. You can add a background color and a border color and all that. Hey, this sounds pretty simple, right? But the actual drawing part is a little bit different than what you're probably used to, and it'll take a little bit of practice. So yes, you can just go ahead and go point to point like that, to create a triangle, for example. But, I can just go in here and get a triangle. Where this pen tool excels is if we're going to make organic shapes. So remember, we studied about that earlier in the week between the difference between geometric and organic. So how can I make organic shapes? I mean, it's just straight lines here, right? That's not organic. Organic is more about, smooth curves and stuff. This pen tool can help you with the curves. All right, so let's say I click there and I make another click, but I have to hold. Now this is going to be a little bit difficult for you guys at first if you're only using a track pad. You're going to have to learn how to use both fingers, the two fingers, okay? And once I hold, I can create a curve like this. And this is how you're going to create your organic shapes, okay? And once I have that there, I can also adjust it again, right? This is what called Bezier curves, okay? And you can adjust it as much as you want, right? And then I can click again, excuse me, make a curve, and then click on that, okay? So there I have my kind of weird oval shape, right? So what I want you guys to do is I want you to create 3 organic shapes, okay? So I want you to do the same thing as me, and I want you to go ahead and you can do the shape big at first, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just fool around with it, make it kind of blobby if you want. It doesn't have to be anything. Remember, this is just an organic shape, okay? So once you have your shape, I want you to fill it in with some kind of background color, all right? You can change the color to something you like, okay? And once you have that big shape, you click on it and you can make it a bit smaller, okay? Let me make that more square there. All right, so you put that to the side and then you're going to make another shape, okay? Again, you're going to fool around, click, and just see what you can do. The point is to basically get used to this tool. Now remember, you have to come to that last point in order to close the path. That's what we call it, okay? We call it closing the path, all right? So again, choose your color. I'll make it bluish this time. Come back, size it down, put it up there, and I'll make one more. Remember, if you don't like the curve, you can always adjust it even after you've clicked on it, okay? So let's say I have this shape, but I want to change it just a little bit. If I double click, okay, on the trackpad, double click, and then I click on one of these, I can actually adjust it, okay? And this is also important and also good for practice because once we get into, if you want to make characters or things like that, this is how you can get those eye shapes and nose shapes. It is by adjusting these points to make it something that you want, okay? Now, I'm not sure if we're actually going to make characters using this program. We might though, okay? So I think it's good if you get a little bit of practice using this. All right, so that is the assignment, is to make 3 organic shapes using this tool here, the pen tool, okay? If you have any problems, just ask me. We should still have class time after this, so you can ask me during that time, or if you're working on this outside of class, you can always send me a message, okay? It shouldn't take you too long just to, play around with this and make 3 shapes, and you can also fool around with the other shapes too, if you want to. But I want to see 1, 2, 3 organic shapes that you created with the pen tool. Have fun.